we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to first start out by telling you we want to thank our sponsor, who is John Deere, Silent Stricker, Nobi, who is sponsoring this presentation for us. Without them, we wouldn't have a presentation. So we want to say thank you to them. And then just over 50 years ago, on December 7th, 1972, Apollo 17 was the sixth and final mission in the Apollo program that explored the lunar surfaces. Rockets made that exploration possible. So we have Mr. Earl Mullins with us today. He's from the Bonne Space Museum, and he'll put on this presentation. Thank all of you for being here. One last small announcement. All of you paid an admission charge to get in here. We have these programs every week, a couple a month for sure. If you want to go to the gift shop on your way out and take the money that you paid to get in here, you can pay to buy an annual membership. So the annual membership is $40. You come and go as many times as you want for $40. You're paying $10 to go to this. We'll let you take that $10, apply it to the annual membership. Feel free to stop at the gift shop on the way out. Earl, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
Almost said good morning. It is now good afternoon. I am from the Space Museum in Bonne Terre. I'm sorry to correct you. I always do this, though. It is not the Bonne Terre Space Museum. It is the Space Museum that happens to be in Bonne Terre. Because we really believe it's actually now the Space Museum and the Grissom Center. Because we have expanded. Have any of you actually visited? Have you? Do I dare ask you what you thought?
I loved it.
I'll pay you later. Great. Well, that's more or less than what you thought it might have been.
More.
Fabulous. Okay. I tell you what, I have to admit though, I walked in here today and I was blown away. Folks, you've got a world-class museum here. Absolutely world-class, without question. You ought to give these guys let's do it. Give them a great round of applause because they have done an absolutely phenomenal job. And frankly, if you're not involved in the museum business, you really don't understand how this works. Whenever I first decided that I was going to start a museum back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, I happened to meet a very important gentleman. His name is Lowell Grissom. Lowell is the brother of Gus Grissom, our second American astronaut. That's why we have chosen to name our new addition the Grissom Center, because he has opened many, many doors for us, and he has become one of my best friends, if not my best friend. I told him at that time, we hadn't turned a tap on the museum yet, and I told him at that time that I was going to open a museum, and he looked me square in the eye, and he said, you know there's no money in it, right? And I since have found out that that is absolutely the truth. There is no money in it. However, that's not why we do what we do, is it, Fred?
No.
It's not why we do what we do, is it? It's all about you guys, and it's all about inspiring our next generations and, preserving history and producing, literally, hopefully, producing world changers. That's our goal, right? And who knows, we may have some folks right here, right now, that may be world changers. But I'll get into that in a minute. I want to plug our coming event. May I do that?
Absolutely.
We have an event coming up May the 6th. We call it affectionately Show Me Space. This year is 2023, so it's Show Me Space 2023. But this year it's going to be a very special program in that we are going to showcase women and their contributions to spaceflight. How many of women have flown in space? Do you know? Anybody hazard a guess? If you know, hush. No, go ahead. How many, sir?
Dozens.
Dozens. Okay, great guess. Anybody else hazard a guess?
3.
3. That is a lousy guess. Okay. Yes, sir.
36.
Much better. You've been eating your Wheaties, but we're not there. 75. 75. And not only have 75 women flown in space, there are women deeply involved in the NASA program. and who make all of these explorations possible. We will have Eileen Collins there, who was the first female shuttle commander. We will have Nicole Stott there, who was 3-time spacewalker. We will have Dr. Linda Godwin, who is from Missouri. She was born in Jackson, Missouri, 3-time spacewalker. We're going to have other ladies who have worked on the program. We're also going to have a young lady who happens to be the director of, not exploration, but a director of research for Blue Origin. And we got a firm maybe from Pam Melroy, who happens to be the Deputy Administrator of NASA. Providing, now that's just providing, I'll use it, I'll plug it. I'm a kind of a P.T. Barnum, I'll plug it. No guarantee she'll be there, but she did say if dates line up, she would be there. Okay? Save the date. The tickets will be going on sale on Eventbrite pretty soon, probably in 1st of February. Okay? When is the date? Are you going to be there? If the answer was not yes, leave now. No. We encourage you to come. It's going to be a great time. All right. Let's get on with this. So we're all about space flight. Some of you grew up with space flight. I grew up with space flight. Today we are getting to the point that we are almost immune to space flight. It seems commonplace. It is not. And it is not necessarily easy by any stretch of the imagination. Not easy at all. They make it look easy because of all the work and preparation that goes into it, right? So we're going to talk about that just a little bit today. But we mentioned Apollo 17, last manned mission to the moon, 1972. We haven't been back since. Shame on us. We didn't go back. There were actually 3 more missions planned, but guess what? The Fed pulled the plug. They removed the funding. That's a good thing because we use those rockets for other things, and now you can see them both at Huntsville and at Cape Kennedy. They have those on display. Those are the actual vehicles that were going to take us on 18, 19, and 20 to the moon. But before Gene Cernan left the moon the last time, here's what he said. But I do want you to know this. We are going back. We just received, I didn't tell you this, or maybe I did. We just received a moon rock. We were given a moon rock by NASA in memory of Gus Grissom for his achievements in the space program. It was actually given to the Grissom family. They can't own it. We had to go through some major security hurdles in order to own it and to display it. So when you come there, if you pick it up, make sure you have a sandbag to replace it with, because if you don't, arrows come out of the wall. Right? Okay. We are only the 2nd organization in Missouri that has one. Sad to say, though, if Elon Musk continues to go like he is right now, you'll be able to buy them on Amazon in 5 years for $5. Okay? But that particular rock is probably worth several $billion to get it back here. But here's what Gene Cernan said. He said, I'm on the surface, and as I take man's last step from the surface back home for some time to come. But we believe not too long in the future, I'd like just to say that I believe history will record that America's challenge of today has forged man's destiny of tomorrow. And as we leave the moon at Taurus Littrow, we leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return with peace and hope for all mankind. Godspeed, the crew of Apollo 17. I knew Gene, fantastic guy, wonderful man. Not too unlike the rest of you. I knew his vision. And Gene has since passed from this earth, but Gene, if you're listening in, we're going back. We're going back soon. And how many of you believe we ought to go back? Raise your hand. Remember this. that there was a short, fat guy from Boncaire told you this. The money spent on space flight is not wasted. It is not wasted. Any of you got one of these? Space flight. GPS system in your car? Space flight. Yep. Ever had an MRI, magnetic resonance imaging? Space flight. How about a microwave at home? Space flight. How about contact lenses? Space flight. But sorry, not Velcro. It really wasn't. Wasn't invented by NASA. There is, sorry to burst your bubble, but it wasn't. I'm sorry, they used a lot of it, but it wasn't invented by NASA. But space flight. We use hundreds of items every day that we take for granted developed as a result of space flight. If I were a betting man, I would bet at least one of you have a memory foam mattress on your bed at home. Space flight. So you can thank your nice night's sleep to an astronaut. Okay. Space flight. For every dollar spent in space research, we get $7 worth of benefit. But above all of that, we ought to do it just because we're human beings and because we're curious. We need to go and see for our own eyes. There are a lot of scientists out there, and we're going to talk about science here in a little bit. A lot of scientists out there have got a lot of theories about what's going on out there in the universe. But you know what? Most of them really don't have a clue what they're talking about. Back in the 1950s, we thought there was lush vegetation and canals on Mars. Until we got there, and we figured out that was not necessarily the case. So human beings need to go, need to see, need to explore. If it wasn't for that spirit, we would not be here, would we? If it wasn't for that exploration spirit. Okay, so we are a spacefaring species. Before, now even, we take, like I said, we take all this for granted. But before we were able to do this, we had to solve some major problems. I know several of the engineers that took us to space. And they told me it was a motto that they had. Most of these guys came from McDonnell Douglas. You do know McDonnell Douglas in St. Louis built Mercury and Gemini, parts of Saturn, Skylab, right? You do know that. Missouri has a huge aerospace legacy, right? Hubble, for whom the Hubble telescope is named after, is from where?
Marshfield.
Marshfield, Missouri. That's exactly right. A huge legacy. But at any rate, before we could travel in space, we had to overcome a lot of problems. And I was telling you about the McDonnell guys. You know what their motto was? We solved 100 unsolvable problems every day. They were making it up as they went along. These guys today are making it look easy. They didn't have a clue how this was going to work. They were given a mandate by the President of the United States, take us to the moon by the end of the decade. And guess what? They did it. They pulled it off. So just think what we could do now if we organized with a mandate. We could solve a lot of this nonsense that's going on in the world right now. Don't you think? Sorry, my plug. I will not be philosophical. However, we had to overcome lots of problems. Right? So I'm going to put on my science. Okay. All right. Men have looked up into the sky and wanted to travel in space for eons, right? For as long as we've been here. We look up there. How do you get up there? What's up there? What's out there? Right? But before we can travel in space, again, we have to solve some problems. And we use something to solve those problems that you learn in school. What is it?
Math.
Math? Good answer. Not the one I was looking for, but a great answer.
Science.
What?
Science.
Come here. Come here. I'm not asking.
Oh, God.
See what you did?
Yeah, I know.
May I place my hand on your head,
Yes,
ma'am?
yes.
I am placing my hand on the head of a genius. It is science. Science helped solve all these problems before we even knew what science was. Do you feel really uncomfortable, ma'am?
Not really.
Darn! Go sit down. Thank you. I'll give you a doggy treat later. All right. Science. But some people make science really, really difficult. Science is not all that difficult. Again, people were using science long before they knew what science was. Science involves us two things. The first thing uses these things. What is that? Our eyes. What do we do with our eyes? I'm looking for a bigger word than that. Scientific word.
Observe.
Have you seen my show before, sir? You read my script, didn't you? Observe, that's right. We observe with our eyes. We go out there and we literally, and when people tell you they've come up with something new, don't you believe it. All they do is they go out and see what's going on around them in the natural world and observe how that works. And then the second thing comes in to play. It involves this. No, actually, it's my bald head. No, you're right. Brain. It's that thing between your ears, right? But there is a specific thing that our brain does, and I'm looking for that word. It starts with an I.
Imagine.
Have you been to the museum?
Yeah.
You're cheating, aren't you? I knew it. I knew it. That's exactly right. Imagination. We see and we learn, and then we allow our imagination to take what we know, right? By the way, since you're so good at this, you get to do the rest of the show. We take what we see and we learn, and then we use our imagination to use it for our good, right? Right. Okay. So we're going to use science. We're going to use our eyes. We're going to do some experiments, and we're going. Who left that there? Was that you? You're fired. I cut your wage. Okay. So anyway. We're going to do some experiments, and we're going to also use our imagination. We're going to solve, hopefully, 3 of the major problems they had to solve for spaceflight. You ready for that? Any of you afraid of flame? Loud noises? We only have 2 rules here. You must have fun, and if I catch you on fire, leave the building quickly. Okay, no, we haven't lost anybody yet. But I do have to tell you this. Our lawyers say I must say this. Do not, I'm looking straight in there. Do not do these things at home. Right, I used to have long black hair. Okay, do not do these things at home. So in order to travel in space, what do we have to have? We got to have a very special kind of vehicle. What is it?
A rocket ship.
A rocket ship. Very, very good. I've got an application in my bag in the back. I'd like for you to come work for the museum. All right? Would you like that? No, you're cute. I like you. All right. Right, a rocket ship. But to make that rocket ship go, we have to have a very special kind of engine. Fred, you know what that is?
Rocket engine.
You didn't disappoint me. You are so good. See, that's what museum curators are all that. We're all geniuses. No, not really. A rocket engine. Today we have some very, very powerful rocket engines, but that hasn't always been the case. But I do want you to know this, that rocket engines go way back. It's not a modern thing. And it started with a Chinese, don't you dare spoiler, a Chinese alchemist who was literally trying to develop an elixir for life. He thought if he could mix some chemicals together, he could come up with some kind of potion or elixir that he could consume to allow him to live forever. He mixed those up. He heated them up, but he got a reaction he was not expecting. What do you think happened? Excuse me? That's part of the story. He did not die. But what happened when he mixed the stuff up, heated it up? It exploded and burned his house down. But no, he did not die. That's the good part of the story. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but well, maybe not me, but some of us would have said game over. But not this guy, because he had imagination. He said, this is some pretty cool stuff. I think I could come up with a use for this. You know what he had invented by almost accident? And this was 2,000 years ago. You know what he invented?
Rocket fuel.
You're ahead of the game again. I have some of that in this bottle, that magic powder. See if we can identify it. Don't you fail me. What is the texture of that material, sir?
That's gunpowder.
You're supposed to say powder. It's got the texture of powder. Say powder.
Powder.
Powder! It's got the texture of powder, right? What color is it, ma'am?
Black.
Thank you. Most people say gray, and it just really blows the whole thing. Black powder. They invented black powder. And this sure looks like black powder. You want to see if it tastes like black powder? No. Okay, right. That's right. They invented black powder. Would you like to see what black powder does when it gets heated up?
Yes. Yes.
Well, I was hoping you'd say that. Now, this is kind of a confined space, and we are going to make a little bit of smoke. So if you have a little bit of an issue with that, step outside, get a breath of fresh air, come back. I'm going to just use just a little bit here. All right? And then I'm going to take this and put it way over here. Okay? Going to take my ignition source.
Hey, Earl.
Yes.
You know the third rule, do not set off the sprinkler.
Somebody told me about that rule. I think we're good. Is there a smoke alarm in here?
No.
Okay, here we go. I only had that happen to me one time. It was at a church. Most excitement they'd had since the old boy got saved. I tell you. Okay. So anyway, the fire department came out. But anyway, hope that didn't happen today. So we're going to observe with our eyes, right? We're going to watch and see what happens. Are we ready? Here we go. Chicken! You ready? Are you sure?
Do it.
You really want me to do this, don't you?
Do it.
Okay, here we go. Excuse me?
Is it going to be loud?
I don't know.
Make a booming sound.
Okay, here we go. So not so bad, right?
I want to see it again. It's pretty. It's pretty.
So, where did it go? Is it in there anymore? A little bit of ash. I'm going to knock you out. A little bit of ash.
Yep.
A little bit of ash. But the powder's gone, right?
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Smoke. Oven smoke.
Yeah, it went through a chemical reaction by which it turned from a granular solid into a rapidly expanding volume of gas. Now, I have a question for you. The scientist, alchemist, whatever you want to call him, asked the same question. He said, I wonder what would happen if I would take some of that and put it in a sealed container and set it off. What would happen? Black powder, sealed container. What? Come here.
Oh, good luck, Morgan.
Are you afraid?
Not really.
You should be.
Oh.
No, come here. I'm placing my hand on the head of a genius. You're right, an explosion. And they figured that, man, that's got possibilities. Because what they did, you go sit down, you got your 15 seconds. All right. So what they figured, man, this would make a great weapon. Now, we don't like weapons, and we don't like hurting people, but literally, the Chinese turned that into a weapon of war that they used for centuries against their enemies. They called it a...
Cannonball.
hand...
Gun.
hand grenade. That's exactly. I knew you knew. You were just testing me. Okay, hand grenade. So they made a hand grenade, but there's another part of the story. There was a young man working in the hand grenade factory, again, a young Chinese fellow, and he was having a bad day. I don't know why. Maybe he had broken up with his girlfriend the night before. I don't know. But he built a hand grenade, and this time he made the hole for the fuse just a little bit too big, Fred. And he looked at that and he said, well, that doesn't look exactly right. Maybe I ought to go test it first. I don't want it to get out in the field and hurt somebody. So he goes out to the test area. He lights the fuse. He throws it out into the test area. And what happened? No, something he was not expecting happened.
Went flying around.
Are you a scientist, sir? Well, you should be. Okay, that's exactly right. The fuse burned down. It set the powder on fire. The hole was too big to contain the gas. The gas shot out the hole. The gas went that way. The hand grenade went that way. And the young Chinese fellow went that way. And what he demonstrated was a law of physics that would not be defined for hundreds until hundreds of years later. He defined the third law of motion. Sir Isaac Newton. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That's right. So guess what? We're going to demonstrate that here. You want to demonstrate that here? What do I have right here? It's a hand grenade. Yeah, I made it in my own shop. Hand grenade. Yep. And we're going to put this hand grenade together, and we're going to demonstrate. Isn't it going to be fun to have hot metal flying around the room? No. No. Okay. All right. Maybe not. So what we're going to do, again, and I'm not sure if this is going to work with just a little bit, but we're going to try it. Okay. We're going to put our hand grenade together. Yes, exactly. To the grain. To the grain. Yes. Right. Okay, so, but instead of having hot metal fly around the room, maybe we ought to use this. Okay. So we're going to put this up here. I hope this works with this little powder, but we're going to try it. So here's our experiment. Please observe. Are you ready? And if we're going to demonstrate a rocket engine, which is indeed what that young man demonstrated, gas goes that way, rocket goes that way. All rockets work the same way. We're going to hope this works, right?
Yes.
If it doesn't, we have defied all the laws of physics. Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you real sure?
Yes.
You want to see me hurt myself, don't you?
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Actually, no.
Since, okay, all right. That's okay. No, that's okay. Count down. 5, 4, 3. You really want me to do this? Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes! Pretty unspectacular, but yes! What did you observe?
Gas went that way.
It what? It went flying, yes. Our little rocket, we were able to push it around. But there's another problem. This takes us to problem number 2. We've solved number 1. We have figured out how to push a vehicle around without a propeller, because that's very, very important. Because what's not up there? Air, no air. So we're not going to be able to fly out into space with a propeller, are we? We're not going to be able to ride a bicycle out into space. We have to have that rocket engine. But what did you notice about our little rocket when it took off?
Came back down.
What was it? Oh, come here, sir. You do that so well. No, come here. What, turn around. What happened?
It went
Is there a name for...
uncontrolled flight.
Yes! Oh, I love him. Very good. Go have a seat. Yes, it all went all willy-nilly. So it's great if we got a rocket engine and make things move around, right? But if you can't control that flight, you got a real problem, don't you? I need some victims. Volunteers. Oh, yes. You would have been my first choice anyway. Any other volunteers? I saw your hand go up. Come on, you too. Come on. Yes, ma'am. Come on. I need one more. Oh, yes. I saw your hand come up here. Yes. Look how anxious she is. No. Over here. Over here. Do your parents love you? I will try to get you back to them in one piece, okay? All right, here we go. So pick one. Pick one. Okay. By the way, that's the last of the fire and smoke. We good? All right. Okay. Pick one. Pick one. Pick one. Blow them up and hold them over your head. I don't want any of that business either. Blow. Now wait a minute. They tell me you got more hot air than that. Blow. They say sometimes this helps. Blow. Blow. Blow it up. Go ahead. All right. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Hold it over your head. Can I help you? May I help you?
I don't like blowing up balloons.
You don't? May I blow it up for you?
Sure.
I'm in remission. Hold that. I'm impressed. Hold that for me. Hold it over your head. What do they have over their heads? Wait, who said balloon? I had such hopes for you. Where have you been? They got little rocket engines over their head because they got compressed gas in there.
What's going to happen if they let go?
We're going to find out. We got a countdown, right? Little rocket engines. Let's do our countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let go! Yes! So we got little rockets flying around all over the place. Be seated. Thank you very much. But again, what did you observe? Uncontrolled flight. That's exactly right. That's not going to work out. So I need another couple of volunteers. Gosh, sir, that was quick. Come on up here. Actually, don't come up here. Go back there. Well, no, maybe up here is okay too. No, go back there. Okay. What do I hold in my hand? A what?
Rocket.
Who said it?
Rocket.
Rocket. That's right. You thought I was going to bring you up here, didn't you? You really wanted to come up here, didn't you? I got you pegged for later. Okay. Rocket. I hold a rocket in my hand. So we're going to launch this rocket, and we're going to observe. You, sir, are my recovery team. Are you ready? Okay. Here we go. We're going to have a countdown and a launch. Sir, is your insurance paid up? All right, because I am deadly accurate.
And my life insurance is paid. That's more.
Good, very good. Okay. We do have insurance at the museum. It just doesn't cover plastic surgery. Okay, here we go. You ready? What are you laughing at? You're in the line of fire. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, that's something. Bring that back up here, sir. What did we observe? Uncontrolled flight. Okay. The Chinese, again, figured out by watching, again, observing, they observed a boat in water. What do you put on a boat in water to make it go the direction you want it to go? A rudder. Who said that? I have an application for you, ma'am. A rudder. That's exactly right. The rudder interacts with the water and you can make the boat go where you want it to go, right? Yes, sir.
But you need that so they power the rudder.
You're exactly right. We're going to get
use your hands, or you need to make some kind of motor to run it.
You are brilliant. Hold that thought. Good. Good job. All of you stick your right hands out in front of you. Adults are not, you, sir, are not exempt.
I am outside the room, sorry.
Step inside the room. Right hand in front of you. That is your right, isn't it, ma'am? Yes. Does it have the R on top of it? It does. You looked at your shoe, didn't you? I know you did. Okay. All right. So right hand in front of you, do this really quick. You really look stupid. What are you laughing about? I got you, sir. I'm going to have it. No. What do you feel? Air. It has. You can stop now. Some of you will take off. All right. Air. Air has substance and mass. It's not as thick as water, but it has substance. So they figured that, hey, if you can put a rudder on a boat, maybe you can put a rudder on a rocket and make that thing go where you want it to go. So they put these things on their rocket.
Fins.
What are they? Yes, fins, little rudders. You don't pay attention very well, do you, sir? Did I tell you to sit down? No. Get back up there. All right, here we go. So we're going to have a countdown. We've got a little bit different rocket this time. 5, 4, 3. I really like you, sir. I do. 2, 1. Yes! Yes! So we can... You can call my lawyer. Have your lawyer call my lawyer. Okay, all right. All right, so, yes, they put those little fins on there, and they got their rockets to fly straight. But there's another problem. We asked this question a while ago. What is not up there?
Air.
No air. Therefore, are our little rudders going to do us any good? No. So, about the turn of the century, there were some very brilliant American engineers at this particular time. One of them was Robert Goddard, was observing a bicyclist. How many of you ride a bicycle? Okay? How many of you think you stay up on your bicycle because you've got good balance? No. But at any rate, they decided to put one of these in their rocket. You look skeptical. They didn't really put a bicycle wheel in a rocket, did they? You're right. But what they did do was they put something in a rocket that every wheel becomes when it spins. When a wheel spins, it develops some very special properties, and it turns into another kind of machine. Fred, do we know what that machine is? Gyroscope. Yes! I gave him all the answers in the beginning, just so you know. No, Fred's a brilliant guy. A gyroscope. That's right. Gyroscopes have the tendency to stay in one place when they're spinning. That's why you can do this. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
What's going to happen when the gyroscope stops spinning? It will fall to the ground. That's exactly right. They thought, man, that is really, really cool. The wheel is going to stay in one place regardless of what's moving around it. So they put a gyroscope in their rocket. They lined it up to a point in space. That became what they called, and you probably know this, the platform, right?
Yep.
He may have a different scientific name for it. Because we have space royalty in the room. I'll introduce you later. Okay, yes! So when that wheel is spinning, it wants to stay in this position, even though the rocket moves around it, right? They line it up to that point in space, okay? And if the rocket moves, the wheel tells the rocket which direction, or it says, hey, you're out of position, bud, you need to line up. Let's see if we can demonstrate this in a different way, okay? I need another volunteer. Yes, come up here. Okay, so to demonstrate this, put your hand straight out in front of you. Look at me, okay? Hand straight out in front of you, all right? You have a beautiful little nose. Do not let wheel get into nose. Bad day, all right? Both hands out in front of you, all right? Hold on to this. Now let's just see if you can hold it up. Pretty heavy. Let's try somebody else. You, huh? Yeah, you want to try it? Come here, all right. Here, I'll let you help me with something else later, okay? Hand straight out in front of you. Hold on to the wheel. Got it? Kind of heavy. All right, let it go. So, whoa, I didn't tell you were done. Okay, so we're going to spin the wheel, and you're going to hold on to it, and you're going to try to move it this way and this way. Tell me what you feel. Wait, it doesn't want to turn, does it? No, you can feel it, but they can't. Let's see if we can demonstrate it a different way. Stand right over here a second. Have a seat. Wait! Now have a seat. All right. Do not let your feet touch the floor. Okay? This is important. Don't let your feet touch. Okay, they can't touch. So I'm going to turn it around this way. Arms straight out in front of you again. We're going to spin this. Turn the wheel. Turn it one way real quick. Now the other way real quick. Why aren't you sitting still? Other way real quick. Why aren't you sitting still? Did you do this in school? Here, come here. Let's give you a try. Come here. Hop down. Good job. Come up here. Sit down. Okay, we're going to do the same thing with you. Here you go. Turn it this way real quick. Now the other way real quick. Is she a wiggle worm? He, her, they, she, hi. Are you a wiggle worm?
No.
No? Well, then why are you moving in your chair?
It's the wheel.
It's the wheel. That's right. Wheel doesn't want to move, right? You push against it, it pushes back against you, spins you in your chair. That's how a gyroscope works. Great. Good job. Thank you. But, so they figured out how to control their rockets in space without air. But there's another problem. Are you ready for this one? Yes. I'm not losing you, all right? Good. I need 2 more volunteers. Oh, hi. Oh, yes. Oh, you, yes. Come here. I need another one. Yes, come here. What do I hold? Here's the other problem. What do I hold in my hand?
Ball.
You are fired. What?
A bouncy ball. A bouncy ball.
Sphere. Air.
Earth! Yes! Who said Earth? Yes, it's the Earth. Well, it looks more like Neptune because you ain't no green. But anyway, it's the Earth. In this little demonstration, yes, this is Ms. Earth. We want you to know that this is a gravely responsible position, ma'am. All of our lives depend on you.
Oh my. Don't worry.
Everybody you've ever known is on this little ball right here. Are you up for this?
I am.
Do we trust her?
No, you shouldn't.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay.
Ah, we're all going. Whew, we're going to die. Now, what do I hold in my hand?
The moon.
Who said moon? It's a tennis ball, silly.
I didn't know. What?
Okay, but you're right. In this particular demonstration, this is the moon. This is Ms. Moon. We don't care if you drop this right now because nobody living there yet. Give us a few years, it'll be different. We want you to take the moon. Incidentally, if the Earth is this big, this is to scale. If the Earth is this big, the moon is this big. The moon is 1/6 the diameter of Earth. Okay? All right. Here's the Earth. Here's the moon. Place the moon in distance-wise in relationship to the Earth. How far would the moon be away? Go ahead. How about right there?
No.
You guessing?
Bad idea.
You are absolutely wrong. If it helps any, nobody gets this right. Okay, next, try again. One more try. How about there?
Keep going.
They're right. I'm
Should
sorry.
I move?
Hold it. Do you like to travel?
Yeah.
Good. Take a hold of this. Walk that way. Okay? Whoa. How about there?
Nope.
How about there? Keep going. Keep going. You like to camp out? Let's see you next week. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep. Uh-oh. Oh! Phew! Just had enough room. Right there. So if the moon is this big and the Earth is, Earth. I was just testing you. Earth. If the Earth is this big and the moon is that big, then that's how far the moon is away from the Earth. When we went to the moon in the 1960s and early 70s, it took us 3 days to get out there and 2 days to get back. Why did it take longer to go out than it did to come back? What? Who said gravity? That's exactly right. The Earth's gravity is stronger than the moon's gravity. As they were going out, the Earth was holding them back. Whenever they were coming back to Earth, they were getting a free ride home because of the Earth's gravity, right? Yep. 3 days seems like a very long time. How many of you would like to travel to Mars? Incidentally, you guys are about the right age. By the time you finish your college education, would be at about the right age to colonize Mars. Would you like to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you like to camp out?
Yes.
How long is it going to take us to get to Mars?
Free.
How much?
Freezing.
That was a great guess. Who said 3 months? Great guess, totally wrong. Anybody else?
Okay.
40 years.
How much? 6 months. That's exactly 6 to 8 months. Take you 6 to 8 months to get there. You have to live there for a year and 2 months until the planets line up again so you can come home. Then it's 6 to 8 months home. Who's signing up? All right, good. I like it. But you're going to eat really well when you go to Mars. You know what we're going to eat along the way? We're going to have to grow some of our food because we can't take it all with us. You know what they suggest that we might eat?
Potatoes.
How much?
Potatoes.
You saw the movie, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you saw that. No, not potatoes, ma'am. Something that grows really fast, high in protein. We need a wonderful protein source.
Beetroot.
What?
Beetroot.
Beetroot? Where in the world did you come from? Beetroot. No, I mean, that's a good guess. We are going to have to grow some things. Any other guesses? How much? Yeah, you're a little ahead of the game, but I was thinking more like crickets. Very high in protein, grow quickly, not affected by radiation, and they have a delicate little crunch when you roast them. Crickets. And if you don't like crickets, yes, algae, pond scum, right? That green stuff that grows on ponds. So just think about that. You put in a hard day's work on Mars, you come in for supper and you sit down to a lovely meal of crickets sauteed in pond scum. How does that sound? Who wants to sign up?
Sure.
Okay, so come on in. I kind of got off the course there. Thank you, ma'am. Good job. I got off the course a little bit. So the point is, if we're going to travel in space, we're going to have to travel long distances. You may sit down. Long distances. So our little fireworks rockets are not going to work. So our scientists figured out that we had to develop a rocket engine with more power that we could control. And about the turn of the century, around 1900, some brilliant scientists figured out that they could take gases in the air, compress them down, and chill them and turn them into a liquid. Who knows what gases are in the air? Oxygen. That's exactly right. Oxygen. Oxygen composes about 20% of the atmosphere we breathe. Nitrogen makes up the bulk of the rest of it, but there's some other gases that are very important. One of those is hydrogen. You can take hydrogen and compress it down, turn it into a liquid. It makes a splendid rocket fuel. And if you combine that with oxygen, which everything needs to combust, right? You've got a rocket. And therefore, they developed a new technology called liquid rocket engines, liquid rocket propulsion. Would you like to see one of those demonstrated? Yeah, you could start them, stop them, you could carry more fuel, they were more powerful, you could throttle them. Where could we find something in this room to demonstrate a liquid rocket engine? Oh, that thing! Well, maybe. You are absolutely correct. Because despite popular belief, this is not a water bottle. This is a rocket engine. Because any container into which you insert a fuel that will burn and provide in an oxidizer to help it burn and set it aflame, it goes through a chemical reaction that produces a rapidly expanding volume of gas. You allow that gas to escape one direction. What law of motion takes effect? Every action has equal and opposite reaction. We can only hope, right? Okay, I'm going to ask a huge favor. Could the front row move back, and Fred, could you move that way? Okay. Here's our rocket engine. We're going to put some oxidizer in here. If you are susceptible to loud noises, you should probably put your fingers in your ears. Okay? So we're going to put some oxidizer in here. Where are we getting our oxidizer from? Out of the air. The oxygen in the air. That's right. I don't need a hairdryer any longer. That should be about right. Then, here is our handy-dandy rocket fuel. You really want to know what this is, don't you? Okay, so handy-dandy rocket fuel, our ignition source. Now, sometimes this works and sometimes it doesn't. All right? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Whoa.
Wait a minute. No, not good. We're going to try it again.
Yeah, something went wrong.
Try this one more time. All right? Now are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bomber! Yeah, right. Okay. Give me a second here. Give me a second. We're going to let this cool off. I'm a complete failure. Okay, here we go. One last try. If this doesn't work, we quit. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Anyway, it was supposed to be a lot more spectacular than that, but that was about 1 ounce of rocket fuel. The rocket that took us to the moon burned 3.5 tons of fuel per second. It was so loud, they had to dump millions of gallons of water on the launch pad, not to cool it off, but to quieten it down. And it still broke blast 2 miles away. So folks, that's not magic. That's rocket science. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Now, I have some show and tell. Would you like to see some show and tell?
Yeah.
Would you? Okay, so I'm going to change things around a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to show you is probably the most important thing in a spacecraft. This is the real deal. This is a replacement seat cushion for the toilet in the space station, International Space Station. You notice it's very form-fitting. You want a really, really good seal, right? Because they're in microgravity. You don't want that stuff floating around in the cabin. So important is it that in the toilet they have a movie camera to help you line up. Yes. And then you have handles that you pull over your legs in order to prevent you from having a disgusting accident. Because the same laws of physics that work for rockets also work for human beings. So let's say you've got gas really bad. You could blow yourself off the potty. Yes. So then after you do your job, guess what they do with the stuff? That's a great, great answer, but not necessarily true. They run it through a centrifuge to get all the water out of it. You know what they do with the water? Yes, they use it over again. They do purify it. I mean, it's the same thing that happens on Earth, right? But what do you think they do with the solid material? You had the answer a while ago. They dump it out into space. So those of you, how many of you like going out at night and looking at the stars?
Oh, no.
You see what's coming, don't you, ma'am? Yeah, you go out at night, and you're out at night, you're looking at the stars. Am I running way too far over? Should I quit right now? You go out at night, you're looking up into the stars, you see this beautiful green meteorite streak by. We just heard about those today. Well, I hate to tell you, folks, that may not be a meteorite. That could very well be a pooperite. Yes. Yes. So the rule of thumb here is if you're out gazing at the stars, keep your mouth closed. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's that. What do we have here?
A jacket?
Sleeping bag.
Oops. Excuse me? What'd you say?
Sleeping bag.
That's exactly what it is. No cushions or anything on it. It's really, really cool. It is a sleeping bag. This one happens to be upside down, but in space it doesn't really make any difference. There is no up or down. So you don't need the pads because you're in microgravity. All you really need is something to keep you from floating around. So this is basically just a big bag. So you get in here and they even have armholes so you can, while you're laying there, you can work on something, work on your computer or whatever. It is made out of Nomex. It's fireproof, fire retardant, but that's a sleeping bag. Okay? We have here, and I'm going to pass this around. Please be careful with it because it is quite fragile. Any idea what this might be?
That's the insulation on the space shuttle?
That's exactly correct. It's one of the heat-resistant tiles on the space shuttle. We have to keep it in a plastic thingy because it's silica and all that, and you touch it in 15 minutes you'll be dead. No, that's not. But anyway, it has a remarkable property about it, and you'll be surprised at the weight and the texture. It is basically a glorified fire brick, like you would find in a ceramic kiln, right? Okay. It is made out of sand from St. Clair, Missouri. Yeah, there's a quarry over there. It has very pure silica sand. They refine it. Now, the property of one of these bricks is that you can put it in an oven. It takes days to heat it up. It will be glowing red like that gentleman's shirt back there, and you can pick it up with your bare fingers because it doesn't conduct heat. They attached these, there were 30,000 of these, individually cut and fit for the space shuttle. Each one of them has a number on it, so they know where it went. You know what they attached it to the shuttle with? Huh? Duct tape. No. Close.
Gator tape.
Something is common.
Glue.
Glue.
It's exactly right. You know what kind of glue? What is it?
Epoxy?
Nope. Nope. RTV silicone, the same stuff you make gaskets for your cars out of. They tried hundreds of different things and found out that the stuff you buy at Walmart works just fine. Pass that around. It is light. It is fragile. And they were always anticipated that it would be a tile that would cause a failure on the shuttle. It never was. We lost Challenger as a result of a failure in an O-ring on the solid rocket booster. We lost Columbia, not because of that, but because a chunk of foam from the external tank broke away, hit the leading edge of the wing, knocked a hole in the wing. They were fine until they started re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. When they did, the friction of the air heated up, produced plasma. It went through the hole in the wing, cut the wing off, caused it to destabilize. They were at that moment going 17,000 feet per second, and they just disintegrated. And what might this be? Now this happens to be Russian. You can buy anything from Russia for the right number of rubles, right? What is it? What is it? No. What is it? Pajamas? You're close. You're close. It's called an LCVG, liquid cooling ventilation garment. In space, of course, you have to have spacesuits, right? There are several different reasons you have to have spacesuits in space, but one of them is because of the huge temperature extremes. And spacesuits, therefore, are very well insulated. In space, if you're looking at the sun, on this side of your body, you're 250 degrees above zero. Immediately behind you, in the shade, you're 250 degrees below zero. Huge temperature extreme. So the suits have to be very well insulated, but the problem really comes in to the fact that your body produces a lot of heat. And they have to get that heat off your body. They use these. It's just like the radiator on a car. They pump water and propylene glycol through these hoses and through these tubes. That picks up the heat on your body, circulates it out through their PLIS, or their primary life support system, and dumps the heat into space. You're welcome to look at this if you like. Astronauts hate spacesuits. You know what the first thing is that they put on before they go out into space, Fred? Anybody have a guess?
Underwear.
That is a brilliant guess, totally wrong. First thing you put on before you go out into space. Anybody?
Spacesuit.
Spacesuit, also excellent guess. Diaper. They do wear diapers. When Lisa Nowak wore that diaper and she made public recognition on television, how many of you remember the Lisa Nowak caper? The astronaut that went a little bit bonkers. And anyway, they wear diapers because it takes them about 3.5 hours to put on their spacesuit and get ready to go out into space. And once they're out into space, they may stay out into space for several hours. You can't just unzip and go behind a tree. So you got to handle that stuff, so they wear a diaper. Then they put on their biomedical harness that lets everybody know that they're healthy, that their blood pressure's good, their temperature's good, heart rate and all that stuff. Then they put on their underwear. Then they put on their spacesuit. The whole thing they put on their underwear, then the LCVG, that thing, and then they put on their spacesuit. The whole thing weighs about 350 pounds. But in space, what's it weigh? Nothing. But it does still have mass. It's hard to get moving and it's hard to slow down. Astronauts hate spacesuits. When you're out in space, the spacesuit is inflated just a little bit because, can I touch you into your nose? Now may I? You would have let me, wouldn't you?
Maybe.
Even if I clean my finger on, no. The end of your nose is about 1 square inch. Did you know that there are 14.7 pounds of pressure on that square inch right now? Well, there is. Matter of fact, there's 14.7 pounds of pressure on every square inch of your body. You know why? Because of the air column above us. It has weight, therefore it produces pressure. The reason you don't notice it is because the pressure inside your body is equal to the pressure outside your body. Therefore, the net effect is zero. However, as you go up in the air column, there is less air, less weight, less pressure, and bad things start happening to you. For instance, the nitrogen that's dissolved in your blood begins to boil and turn into a gas, and you wind up with the bends. Or the fluid in your eyeballs begin to expand and your eyes pop out, or the gases behind the fillings in your teeth can expand and pop your fillings out. So if you're not wearing a spacesuit, you've had a real... Thanks for coming, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And I'm about done, unless you want to see more. I've got more in my little tub up here for those of you who are interested. Otherwise, I think I'm done for the day. Did you guys enjoy the show? Thank you very much. You want to try this again? Let's try this one more time. I'm a little disappointed about this. One more time.
It's got fire.
What is that? Oh, that's
Okay, here we go. Say a little prayer. Yes, it worked! Yes! All right. So that's about 1 ounce of rocket fuel. Earl, note to self, don't buy that brand anymore. Okay. So 1 ounce of fuel. The rocket that flew us to the moon, 3.5 tons of that a second. Thank you guys, you're spectacular. If you have any interest, any of you like to try on a spacesuit glove? Oh, come on up here. Go ahead, try it on. Max, if you cannot get your hand out of this glove, you and I are going to get really acquainted.
Okay.
You know how much that glove costs, Max?
I can't even imagine.
$20,000.
Oh my.
The whole spacesuit, turn around here, Max. If anybody that can take a picture of you, this make a great photo op. This glove has not flown in space. However, it was used at the Neutral Buoyancy Lab in Huntsville, Alabama, Johnson Space Center in Texas. It's a big swimming pool. They put their suit on, get in there, weight themselves so that they're neutrally buoyant. They neither float or sink, and they practice their microgravity maneuvers. So that's where that was used. All right? Play that, Max. Pretty comfortable now, right? But you know, you remember I told you about the pressure differentials? They only inflate these to about 4.7 pounds, just enough to prevent that problem. If they went up to full Earth's surface pressure, you'd be stiff as a board. You wouldn't be able to move. Even at 4.7 pounds, this glove becomes stiff. And the astronauts that have used them say it's every time you pick up something, it's like squeezing a tennis ball. It literally skins your back of your knuckles and bruises your fingertips. Yeah. Next. You used to work for North American Rockwell. You started with the TRW?
Yeah, I worked for Rockwell.
And you worked on Star Wars?
Yeah, I worked for Ronnie Reagan's Star Wars program.
You have a security clearance?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you worked on? I know you could, but you'd have to kill me, right?
Communication system between satellites.
I got a buddy that works at Boeing. He works on black budget projects right now, and of course he can't talk about it either. I've tried pulling fingernails out and stuff, and it doesn't work.
I worked on Harpoon, cruise missile.
Harpoon. A couple of our guys worked on Harpoon and Tomahawk. Oh no, Harpoon. Tomahawk was another program.
Well, basically Tomahawk for cruise missile.
Yep.
So you got Harpoon, cruise missile.
Anybody else?
Thank you so much.
You are welcome so much. Sorry I took so long. Hope I didn't bore you. Come and visit us at the museum.
He designed the actual matchbook. He worked at Universal Match during the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and he retired from there. And he designed these back when they were the original mission happened. And also there's a John F. Kennedy Presidential Museum stamp, matchbook. And I've got quite a few other presidential matches and stuff which aren't in here, because this was specially made up for this. They're not attached to here, so they kind of move around a little bit. They're pretty cool how they're, the logos on one side and pictures of the crew on the other. And a lot of people nowadays don't know what a matchbook is. What's a match? Matches. They know box matches, but not book matches. And these were available at every store, every restaurant, anywhere you went out someplace, they had matches, and they gave you as a promo. So usually it had a restaurant name or Schnucks or Deerbergs or Walgreens, whatever, on the actual match. So it was pretty cool. So.
Who are you and who's your dad?
What?
Who are you and who's your dad?
My dad is Harold Bradley, and he's 90, just turned 98, 99. And I'm Wes Bradley, and I live down here now in St. Genevieve, and I'm from St. Louis County. And I moved down here because my daughter lives down here, so that's pretty much it.
Online that shows the bag and that is used. This is very cool. This is Apollo era, but I think this particular one was used on the early shuttle flights.
Okay.
It's one of their flashlights.
No kid.
Yeah. You know why they're made of brass?
No.
Solid or 100% oxygen atmosphere, no sparks.
Pretty good. It just isn't sticking.
Same reason they have brass stuff.
Brass
for fuel.
hammers. Yep. Same.
Oh, for that spark?
No sparks.
No sparks.
Well, what about aluminum? Would that?
It does not spark.
Yeah.
That actually has flown.
Really?
Shuttle flights. They were developed for Apollo. There's a number on there, and we could actually look that number up and determine what flight it was on.
Just break the glass and that
You meant a little towards me so you can kind of see where it is.
About this. So this is brass because it won't spark.
Correct.
But aluminum, that won't spark either,
No,
right?
no.
Okay, so it just, they could use aluminum.
They could have. I'm not sure why.
It's a non-ferrous metal.
Correct. That's exactly right. Probably the reason they didn't use aluminum has a tendency to gall when it's
It does.
two aluminum surfaces come together. Brass
That
is
acts
more
like a natural lubricant.
lubricant. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm surprised to see that bulb in there, that old style bulb.
Yeah, well,
Well, we're
LEDs
talking
weren't the thing
1970s.
back
Oh, you said
60s and
Apollo?
70s. Yes.
Oh, I was thinking space shuttle. So Apollo, this was one of Apollo.
That was not. That particular one, they used these, it was Apollo era, and it may have been used in Apollo, but that particular one was used on shuttle. Because if you'll recall, the shuttle program, the thing that they were so proud of on the shuttle program is it was reusable. They tried to reuse everything. The launch and entry helmets, you remember the white, they called them clamshell helmets, that they used up until 1986, actually were fighter helmets from Vietnam. There were 800 of them made. They were HGU 20Ps. The fighter pilots hated them because they didn't have any visibility and they were heavy, and so a lot of them got thrown overboard. So those are foot restraints. This, and my memory doesn't serve me, but this was a Soyuz Russian communications helmet, and this particular one has flown. Here, you're welcome to hold on to it if you want to. That's Soyuz. And this is very important. Not this. This is really cool. There's not too many of these around. This is actually a lunar sample containment vessel.
a lunar what?
Sample containment vessel.
Okay.
So whenever they brought these samples back from the moon, you remember, you're probably old enough to remember the videos. They wore those green suits whenever they got out of the spacecraft. They were called BIGs, biological interdiction garments.
So when they come back down to Earth, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so
And
we
they
did.
go in the airstreams.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
They were afraid that we would bring back some kind of supernatural germ that would kill us all. So, and the lunar samples were kept in vacuum, right? And so, on top of that, not only did we want to be contaminated, we didn't want to contaminate the lunar samples either.
Right.
So they were held in vacuum. Well, if they sent those samples to a different university somewhere, they would take one of these containment vessels, load that sample in here under vacuum, seal this up, and send it to the university to open.
Yeah.
To maintain that integrity. And then this is just a protective bag. The bag inside is sealed, and it is all sterilized. The air inside that is 1972 air.
Yeah, really.
So this was Apollo.
Yeah, that's Apollo program.
And this was for lunar samples.
Yes. We silly human beings have done. They didn't find any germs on the moon, but there are some there now.
From us.
Yeah.
When we sent Surveyor to the moon, Surveyor was the first exploration vehicles they sent to the moon, and they sent those, they were non-manned of course, and they were designed to determine whether the lunar surface was strong enough to support a landing vehicle. Because there were many people theorized that the dust was so thick on the moon, if you landed there, you'd just sink. So they sent Surveyor, and there was 2 of them that actually landed. There were several of them sent. I think maybe 5 or 6, only 2 landed. But they were sterilized as best as we could sterilize them. Apollo 12 went to the moon and recovered some parts off of one of them and brought them back, and indeed they had germs living on them.
Oh, wow.
But terrestrial, yeah, no, they even in that harsh
Bacteria, you know, or is it
bacteria.
How on earth could they withstand the pressures and all that?
Well, it wasn't pressure. Actually, it was no pressure. It was vacuum.
Right.
And immense ultraviolet.
I know.
But they were living. Life finds a way. It would. The surveyor was there.
Holy mackerel.
3 or 4 years before Apollo got there. Yeah.
So for 3 or 4 years, it survived up there.
Yep.
That is
In those temperatures.
Yep. Again, the rings aren't in there.
Now, how come they wouldn't have just the whole?
Okay.
It would go from the wrist and then attach.
Okay. Again, whenever they first started, when we first started in space, each spacesuit was custom tailored for each astronaut.
Okay.
Whenever they got into the shuttle program, they were planning on sending a shuttle a month. It didn't work out that way. But they were going to be flying lots of astronauts. It was not practical to custom tailor each suit. So what they did was they made the suits in segments so that they could pick small, medium, and large segments to fit the particular astronaut.
Ah.
Okay. But all the rings were the same.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Well, I say the same. Now you got to remember this is a government project, right?
Right.
And evolution goes on of the materials that they use. So we were hoping that we could find enough parts. I was trying to gather up enough parts to build a full suit. None of them match. None of them match because they evolved over time. And that's odd. Everybody smells it.
Well, you know what? Every time I go to a space museum, I smell that smell.
Yeah.
Smell that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it is it.
No, it's not a bad smell. It's just
smells
it's like
space museum.
it's antiseptic.
Yeah, like
Almost,
an
yeah.
antiseptic.
No, you can smell it as antiseptic.
It's not.
It's kind of an antiseptic smell.
It's like,
Oh, it's nice. They put lace on you for.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, but that's how they join them together. They lace them together.
you know, I also smell that if I go on old battleships. I'll smell that in places. I don't know what that is.
You're
but-
probably.
Huh.
And
I had a hard
of
time
course,
recording because I
this
have
is for
entertainment
inside.
as well.
These are sleep shorts.
Oh, cool.
And you could have been home all day today, just relax.
There you go.
Now, was that a man or a woman?
Unisex. So this is also Russian, and this is these belong to Gennady Padalka. He's got it signed here, but Expedition 43 and 44, he has flown Kentavar pressure pants.
Huh.
Now, I don't know exactly what they were intended for. I think because of the space shuttle isn't pressurized to 14.7 pounds, right? It's just not practical to do that. That causes some lividity or swelling. And I think maybe that was what these were all about, was to...
For like takeoff, more or less.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, not even that, but to prevent that lividity in space. I think it was more of an experimental suit than anything else.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure, but these have flown. These are Russian.
Russian as an international space station?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And of course, you can't. Everything has to be special. That's toilet paper.
Oh. How about that?
Is it quilted?
No, it is not. And this is actually a G girdle.
important
This is
paper.
for terrestrial flight.
You have to. Use paper.
So this is a back seat. This would have gone on the back seat of the shuttle. This is a back seat storage pouch.
It goes in the back of the seat.
Yeah.
I'll be dang. So they'll go right on your big truck.
Yep.
Yeah, I could put this
Go right in the back seat and
on my F-150.
a little crap in the back. Stuff
And
in
then
the back.
this is the TNG, what they call the thermal micrometeoroid garment that went on the upper torso system. The upper torso of the spacesuit is actually a hard fiberglass shell. Oh, I didn't know that. And then all those other components clip into it. And then this is the thermal cover of that shell.
Now, is this like space shuttle era?
It is.
Okay.
Has to be a little bit different for Mullins.
A little bit. So that's that. And this is, you know, you always see the controls and stuff on the front of their spacesuits. Well, this is this. And do you know why it's in reverse?
No.
If it's on the front of you, you can't read it. But they have a mirror that they can take and...
No. A mirror.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be
And
done.
this controlled your PLIS, your primary life support system in the back.
That probably cost $3 million to figure out that's what we can do.
Well, yeah, each suit was like 1.5 million. And so these are the boot covers. I didn't bring a boot today, but these are the boot covers. And this is part of the restraint layer. This is the elbow,
Okay.
for the elbow.
Now, the toilet tissue, would this be from space shuttle era?
Space shuttle and International Space Station.
Okay.
Does he have any gloves?